Today on The Big Story, MOH ramps up war on diabetes with ban on ads for high sugar drinks. Surviving without Google on the Huawei Mate 30 Pro. Now, good evening and welcome to The Big Story. I'm Dylan Ang, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. Now, the Ministry of Health will introduce a set of regulations to reduce the amount of public sugar consumption. When this comes into play and what exactly will be affected will be announced in 2020. Implementation is expected to take between 1 to 4 years. Now, back in December, 4 measures were proposed in a public survey of over 4,000 respondents. For those proposals, 84% were of mandatory front-of-pack nutrition labels and 71% were for advertising regulations. A further 65% supported excise duty on manufacturers and importers, and 47% potentially a complete ban on the sale of higher sugar-sweetened beverages or SSBs. Now, the Straits Times also ran its own survey. Now, let's take a look. Now, here with us to discuss more is Senior Health Correspondent Salma Khalid. Hi, Salma.
Hi, Dylan.
Hey, Salma. So let's start off with what exactly are sugar-sweetened beverages or SSBs?
Okay, SSBs are actually pre-packaged drinks, and it covers a whole range of drinks from what we now think might be healthy drinks.
Right.
But it also contains a lot of sugar. So things like yogurt drink, cultured drink, fruit juices would also fall under this SSB category, as well as, you know, your 3-in-1 coffee mixes and, of course, your soda drinks.
What about other popular drinks like bubble tea, for example?
Bubble tea is not pre-packaged. That's freshly packed.
Right.
Right. You go there, you buy it, they make it for you straight away. But although they are now talking about controlling sugar in pre-packaged drinks, Mr. Edwin Tong told me earlier today that he's also thinking about how he can reduce the sugar in things like bubble tea or drinks sold at fast food chains and things like that. So that might be next.
I see. Now, Salma, the ad ban is a world first, and MOH says that further regulations could be on the way. Of course, in the war on diabetes, this is quite a salvo. How has the war on diabetes fared so far?
Actually, Dylan, it's very difficult to say because the results will take years and years to come. So you wouldn't know whether it's successful or not for at least a decade or more. However, you know, the Health Promotion Board has been getting people to eat more healthy. You know, at hawker centers now, I see people are asking for more vegetable, less salt. More people are buying whole grain bread and whole grain rice. So all that helps to reduce your risk of diabetes.
Right. Now, Salma, combined, of course, with the clear labeling, it is somewhat reminiscent of Singapore's approach to tobacco and smoking. Now, do you think we could be heading for plain packaged sweet drinks?
No. I don't think they'll go that far. No. The effects of sugar, I think, may not be as bad as the effects of cigarettes, but it is harmful. So what they want to do is give to help people decide which drinks to buy. So if you know that I'm looking at 2 drinks, right, and I like both of them, but this one has a very red label and this one is only orange. And since I like both, I might as well go for the healthier orange one, right?
Yeah.
Whereas right now, if you have to look through all the labeling, it's very difficult and it's very confusing, and most people don't know which drink is healthy and which is not.
Right. Now, of course, one of the proposed measures was an excise actually on the duty on duty for both manufacturers as well as importers. Now, of course, the burning question is if the cost would be passed on to consumers. Now, our reporter Renee Poh actually asked members of the public for their opinions on such a proposal. Now, let's take a look.
Let's say if there's a price increase, how much more would you be willing to pay for, let's say?
About like 3 to 5% increase of so much. It's like I might not drink at all.
Maybe like $2 max. Yeah.
Why?
I think if it's like above $2, it's probably quite expensive and may not be worth the price of the sugar.
If it's just a minor increase, I think people will still pay for it. Yeah, and I wouldn't mind paying once in a while.
Depends, if it goes up until 150, that's the max I can pay. If more than that, then it's all maybe once a while.
I think it's the convenience factor that people go to supermarkets and they buy it, or they go to mini-marts and they buy it. So if you stop all this kind of packaging, right, and I don't know how are they going to sell it, but definitely I think it will affect the consumption.
Now, Sama, do you know why MOH is not implementing this?
Well, they haven't taken it off the table yet, okay? So they say it's a little bit more complex. There are a couple of concerns. You mentioned earlier that one of the fear is that the cost will be passed on to consumers.
Right, yeah.
Actually, that is the purpose of the tax. The tax is to make it more expensive for consumers so that they don't buy it.
I see.
So if it's not passed on to consumers, that's a problem. And that's what they're afraid of. The companies may then spread the tax over all their drinks, and not just for the sugar sweetened, the very high sugar drinks, right? In which case it defeats the purpose because all the drinks will go up rather than just the very sugary drink. And I think the other worry is that for it to be effective, the tax has to be very high. If I add 20 cents to your drink, that's 20%. I don't think most kids will care, right? They have enough pocket money.
Yeah.
Heck, I like the drink, 20 cents more, I'll still take it.
Yeah, so it has to be something really like...
It has to be very hard. And so how much can you tax on the drink? You know, the drink doesn't cost very much. How much can you tax it?
Yeah, true. Now, of course, Salma, we would actually find out more about this next year. So they're going to make more announcements next year, right?
All the details, I hope, will be coming up within the first 6 months of next year.
Okay. So I think there's a lot for us to look out for. Thanks, Salma, for coming on the show and telling us a little bit more about our war against diabetes. So thanks once again for coming on the show.
A pleasure, Dylan.
Now, moving on to our second segment, are you Google dependent? Now, the Huawei Mate 30 series phones are the first to lack access to Google mobile services. Now, this means that while it still runs on Android, Google apps like App Store, Google Play, Gmail, and Google Maps are not pre-installed and cannot be downloaded. Now, journalist Lester Wong spent last weekend using the Mate 30 Pro phone and is here to discuss with us his experience. Hey, Lester.
Hey Dylan.
So let's get straight into it. Now, the Mate 30 Pro phone does not have access to Google Maps as well as Gmail, and also some other popular apps, correct?
Yep, that is correct. So what it doesn't have access to is the Google mobile services, which includes Google Play Store, Google Maps, Gmail, and also everything on Google Play Store, as well as Google-owned apps like YouTube.
Okay. So what are some of the features that Huawei have to counter this? I mean, we all know Google, a lot of the Google apps are really popular, like Gmail and stuff. So what are some of the things that Huawei have done, to...
So the interesting thing for some apps like WhatsApp, Facebook and Instagram is that you can sideload them, you can download the installer file from the internet somewhere, but the risk as a Huawei user that you're taking is that some of these files might not be from a trustworthy source, and sometimes it might not work for an individual user for whatever reason.
So it's like a third party kind of...
Yep. So it is possible for some of these apps, and at the same time, Huawei's App Store, the app gallery, you've got apps like Carousel, TikTok, you've got the telco apps, you've even got the Straits Times mobile app.
So these are, they also have like alternatives to like Spotify and YouTube as well?
Yep, so there are some music streaming services, some video downloading services, again of varying trustworthiness and quality. So, I mean, if you're a Huawei user, you really have to sort of check it out for yourself and see what works for you, what you're comfortable with. Yeah.
So, building on what you said about not being able to access some popular apps out there, what are some of the phone's pros? Maybe you could share some with us.
Actually, the Huawei Mate 30 Pro is an excellent phone. Hardware-wise, I mean, everyone knows the Leica phones on the Huawei phone, they're great, and it's the same in the Mate 30 Pro.
Yep.
And the battery life for the Mate 30 Pro is awesome as well. I did my best to run it down over the course of an entire day with heavy duty usage, and
Yeah.
there was still 20% left at about 10 p.m. at night.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about, so I understand it also has a Leica lens as well
Yep.
for
yep.
the camera?
Yep.
So do you have any other details about that?
So it does work like a dream. I mean, without going into further and excessive detail here, I mean, it's a bit hard for me to say exactly what each of the four cameras does, but they are excellent.
What about the Kirin 990 processor?
So that's one of the latest processors. So it just means that when you're using the phone for whatever purpose or task that you're using it for, it's very smooth. And
sorry, just to interrupt you over there. I think on screen for our audiences watching, you can see some images that were taken from the phone. Yeah, so you can see a shot of the MRT station. I think the phone does pretty well in dark, like night settings as well.
For that one, it was a bit more of a middling for me. But in most settings, it was excellent.
All right, thanks Lester for coming on and telling us more about the phone, and for giving us a small tech review. Of course, if you'd like to read the full story and Lester's experience, you can always head on down to our website. It's straitstimes.com. Now, those were the top stories of the day. For more news and videos, do head on down to our website. And once again, I'm Dylan, and thanks for tuning in. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.